this week on Turd Talks.
Because I always ask, I'm like, hey, I'm bringing, Idaho or whatever to the table. If you're from there, you know anybody from there, let me know what you know about Idaho. And then I tell people I give bonus points depending on depending on whether or not I could find the information just on Google.
Right,
so
right.
The true local stuff is what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what people ask me all the time, what was my inspiration? I didn't have one. It just happened. It fell out of I tipped the box over and shit just fell out.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things that rolled out. I found the bucket hat at my aunt's house. Nobody knows where it came from. People came to see me. Like I had never experienced that. Maybe a couple people here or there, but it was like, oh, there's 30 extra people here that saw. Okay.
Heck yeah.
And so I started booking more stuff at bigger clubs, and I started looking at moving out to Los Angeles. I started, an agent contacted me. I pull up my phone. I'm on Facebook, half a bar, just scrolling through. I mostly just listen to music and just mindlessly scrolling or whatever.
Yeah.
And I hear our base get attacked. There's blanks being fired at the gate. And my first thought was oh no, we're under attack. So I grabbed my rifle, and my second thought was, they don't know I'm in here. So I didn't do anything. I just put the rifle down and I kept shitting. I'm sure at this
to stay
point,
quiet, don't find me.
At this point, I'm sure I was done shitting, but I was not done sitting there.
Yeah. So to close things out today, would you do us the honor of singing with us Since You've Been Gone?
Do you guys have water?
Yes.
I need to drink water.
Absolutely.
First.
I can get you a water.
100%.
I'm also going to need to move the microphone away from my mouth because I will be yelling.
Thank you. That's really fun.
Yeah, I would recommend the app because it shows you where the holes are. So if, some parks don't have good signage, so you kind of have to be I think it's this way, and
you're
you
just
walk
whipping this shit into the forest. I think it's that way.
Yeah. Well, it's more so you finish a hole and then there's no sign pointing to where the next one starts, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
God.
So before we get into things any further, I want to introduce you here on the show.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we
should
got
do
a
that.
special guest with us today. He's a stand-up comedian. You may know him as the States Guy. He has 2.9 million followers on TikTok. Ben Brainard.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you for being on Turd Talks,
Thank
man.
you.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're known for making viral videos, and you play a character from every state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the process for making one of these kind of videos? Because I know I've made some videos at home doing different characters, and I know a lot goes into it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing everything.
So my process changes a little bit depending on the specific type of video. So I do the states content. So if anybody doesn't know exactly more or less what it is, I call it the table. It started out, I dressed up as 5 states, sat down at a table, and talked about how everyone was doing not well.
Right.
And it's kind of just stuck with that premise more or less, but I have evolved it to try to fit in more aspects that I find very interesting. So it started with the news, and then it branched into I do weird laws, I do weird city names, I do a series now called Florida Man in SoCal, because being from Florida, I've been living in Southern California now for 2.5 years, and the similarities and the differences are both very, very funny to me.
Right.
So I made, that series, which is more of a reality TV show type feel to it. So the general idea as far as making one of these videos goes, there is the research phase, the writing phase, the filming phase, the editing phase.
So I imagine you have it all written out on a script.
Yeah, that's part of the writing phase.
Yeah.
And then the posting phase. Now, I've gotten to the point where I am grateful enough to have made enough money doing this that I have hired people to do the editing and the posting for me.
Nice.
Very
because
nice.
otherwise, I wouldn't have time. It just became such a thing. I did it all by myself for the first year and a half.
Good for you. Yeah.
The research phase depends on the type of video. It could take anywhere from 1 hour to 3 days. The videos that take the most time to research are weird laws, because I refuse to just Google weird laws in whatever and accept that as the gospel, because most of the time you Google it and the ones they give you are just completely made up. So I will Google those, start from there, and then go into the actual statutes, like the code book of the state, and read through the whole book until I find something that could be silly.
Good, yeah.
So, so you have like very extensive knowledge of all the states. Is it from doing the little research like that, and just or is it from traveling, or?
It's a combination. So I think I get most of my information just from the people that live there, because I always ask. I'm like, hey, I'm bringing Idaho or whatever to the table. If you're from there, you know anybody from there, let me know what you know about Idaho. And then I tell people I give bonus points depending on depending on whether or not I could find the information just on Google.
Right,
so
right.
The true local stuff is what I'm looking for.
Right.
So that's where I get the most of it. And then from there, like if they just say a phrase or a word that I'm like, I don't know what this is, I'll put it on a list to be Googled. I'll Google it. I'll learn about that way. And then because of, nationally touring comedy, I get to then visit that stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I have the joke based off of their perspective, and then I have jokes now based off of what I thought when I got to it.
So it's like a combination of
Exactly.
what people tell you and your own experiences.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really resonating then, too, with everybody. It's perfect.
Yeah. One person described my comedy as having fun with, not making fun of, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So that's the research phase. The second phase is the writing phase.
Right.
The way that I write, more or less, is I have to wait for a punchline to come to me. I can't just sit down and start. I can force myself to write, but it's not going to be my best. So I have to wait for a punchline. But usually, as soon as I think of the first one, everything else just comes.
Right.
Last night at 4 a.m, I was like brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed or whatever, and then I went, uh-oh, and I sat down, opened the laptop, and I wrote 2.5 pages of a script.
That's usually when the inspiration hits, is when you're like about to fall asleep, or when you're just kind of waking up.
The inspiration hits when you are not allowing yourself to be distracted by other stuff. That's why we all have our best ideas while driving or in the shower, because we're not looking at our phones.
The brain's just turned off.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not that the brain's turned off. The brain's finally turned on.
Yeah,
right.
It's allowed to
Disconnected.
relax.
Yeah. I write all my jokes while driving.
Yeah, it makes sense. I like to
really
drive
does.
with no music on and just kind of let my brain go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do that sometimes.
Just because we're always so stimulated by our phones and everything, we need something, and it's sometimes
Need
nice
to disconnect.
just drive in silence
And process.
Yeah.
That writing phase takes. I mean, the amount of time I actually spend writing is probably like an hour, but because I try not to force myself to write, it could end up taking all day, really. I try to write 3 1-minute sketches that seem to flow together if you watch all 3 of them at the same time, but are also standalone if you don't watch the full thing.
Right.
And that's because when I first started, Facebook would monetize a long-form video if it was 3 minutes. They would put the mid-roll ad in a 3-minute video, and the amount of money you get paid for a mid-roll ad versus everything else is like 5 or 6 times the regular amount. So I was like, oh, okay, I can write, an extra 1.5 minutes on top of this and then get $20 for it instead of $3 for it.
Right.
So I've just been like that. But then short form content happened. I'm like, now I need to make sure that, I have these short forms, but I'm not trying to do extra work. So there was a whole process of figuring out
it's a lot to figure out.
So what it turned into was I make 3 short form videos that fit together. And so if you're watching it on TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever, it seems like 3 independent sketches. But if you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube, you just watched one video.
Very smart.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Took a lot of trial and error to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still learning all the time with social media because shit's always changing. And
Yes.
you got to just
yeah.
go with the trends and the flows, and it's a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
But it's
Yeah.
something that I think all comedians have to do now. It's just, you know,
If you're having a job that requires people to know about you, I don't even want to just say entertainment anymore.
Right.
But, you know,
Hairstylists.
hairstylists,
Anybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
real estate,
pressure
whatever.
washing
Yeah,
business.
Exactly.
gotta
If
be
you have
on
a
the social.
business that requires people to know about you,
Yeah.
you have to learn social media somehow, some way.
I resisted for as long as I could, and then I broke, and I was
So
like,
did
it's
I.
just, you know,
Yeah, I also didn't care.
yeah,
I downloaded TikTok reluctantly.
yeah.
So did we.
Yep. Yep.
And then we all
We're
learned
with
it
you.
wasn't at all what we thought it was.
Right.
We're like, where are
Not
the
at all.
12-year-olds dancing? This is comedy. What?
yeah. It's getting, and then it got, I don't know. There's so many layers to TikTok.
Yeah,
It's so
TikTok got
funny.
dark and weird, and
Yeah, TikTok will take you wherever you tell it that you want to go.
Yeah. Sometimes it was sending me like many stories. This was so weird about like divorce and grief of partners. And I was like,
I'm
is
alive.
it trying to tell me
I'm
something
here.
that's going to happen?
Did something happen in your life outside of you or your relationship? Did
Not really.
people you know get divorced recently?
Oh, see, that's interesting. I never think about the outer circle that can be connected as well.
Because it's not that
Yeah.
like they're reading your text by any means, but they see you interact with this person
people.
and this person interacts with that.
Right.
Because when I do like, I only know this because I've paid for like advertisements on Facebook to show like my shows basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like one of the metrics they use is like, do you want us to show this to people who like your page and people like them?
Right.
Or people who like your page and their friends. So like their friends will see like, oh, Jason likes this. Let me, boom. Okay, let me give it a shot, you know? So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. There's like a lot of
Right. It can be good and bad, I think.
it can be bad.
Yeah.
Like, but the other thing is, I mean, the worst that it could possibly, I mean, maybe not the worst it could possibly be. Everything could be way worse. But I think like the general extent to which this could be used bad is a company learning what to show you. Which is bad in a sense for like, if you have a hard time not spending money on stuff, sure.
that's me, dude.
Yeah. I grew up way too poor. I don't spend money on anything other
I
than
spend
like
money
food.
on the dumbest shit sometimes. I'm just, why do I do that? And it's because they're just constantly showing me shit that I don't need.
Yeah, but then
You
like
know?
there's so much like evil negative stereotype or not necessarily connotation.
What is this? What even is this?
I don't know
bro?
what anything in this room is. I just think there's a ton of like evil negative connotation behind like they're tracking our data, and sure there should be because Facebook legally in a court of law was found guilty of selling our information to anyone who is buying.
Yeah.
But like if you keep that contained, which legally they should, as long as like the company is like, we have your data for our use, the worst that could happen is they get to show you the content that you want.
Right. As long as they're not stealing my health information or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I really don't have anything. I'm not that interested.
when cybersecurity becomes the issue, that's when it dips into, oh, this is really bad. But like while we have cybersecurity, it's probably just a more curated internet experience, really, is what we're getting from it.
I'm still on it. I mean, I haven't deleted it yet, so.
Everyone will complain and then keep it because this is just how we keep in contact with people now.
Yeah. And assimilate.
Yeah.
It's true. So true.
If I could delete all of it and still be a successful comedian, I would delete it all.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I mean, when you think about the old days, like how comedians had to promote their stuff, it was just through the improvs, and then they kind of worked their way up. And
I read
through media.
Kevin Hart's book.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, I listened to Kevin Hart read his book to me.
Okay.
And it's a really good book. And he said that he would bring his friends, and he would go to a mall in the local area a couple days before the show and hand out flyers. And then he would go to a nightclub in the area and tell them, like, hey, we're doing a show here. Let us do an after party at the club, and we'll bring everybody from the show to the after party. And he did that in every single city for like 5 years straight.
Wow.
It's
That's hustle.
the amount of
Yeah.
work that Kevin Hart put in is insane. Like, he fully deserves everything that he has right now,
Yeah.
because like you would not believe how much work he put into being Kevin Hart.
I heard that when he was first like starting as a stand-up, he was performing in a strip club, and
We've all done that.
But there was like a consistent gig there, and he had like a really funny name. I can't remember what it was, but it was.
He had a stage name.
Do you remember what it is?
I don't remember what it is,
It
but
was-
I know he had a stage name, and
Yeah.
he was doing like a character, really.
Right.
Until some like a different headliner whose name I cannot remember, started with an N maybe, like Norman. I can't remember it, but some headliner came through and was like, "Hey man, stop. Name one household name that's a stage name." And couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
Kevin went from stage name to Kevin Hart. Didn't do well because he tried to just change everything. Went from a character to the storyteller, and that is not an easy thing to do in comedy, is storytelling. So
it's
that
a big switch.
transition, especially coming from a thing where people already thought your character was funny, so now all of a sudden the funny guy is not funny anymore. And then he went back to the stage name, and like a year later, that same headliner came back and was like, "I thought I told you. What are you doing?"
Interesting.
And then that's when he made the official final switch to Kevin Hart after
Huh.
that.
I think it was Lil Kev the Bastard.
Lil
Yep.
Kev the Bastard.
Lil Kev the
That's
Bastard.
such a great fucking name.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Sad it didn't stick, honestly.
So back to the table video. I want to ask you about, because you have so many different outfits. Do you have like a duffel bag or like a thing that you keep them all in so you don't lose track of all these outfits?
They would not fit in a duffel bag at this point.
Wow. So it's
I
like a whole
have-
closet.
Yep. I have
outfits.
where I'm living right now, we turned one of the bedrooms into a production studio. Because
yeah.
we're living in LA.
That's the LA way to do it.
That's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a bedroom, so it has a closet in it. So it's the weirdest closet I've ever seen. It's not like there's a rod in the top. It's a square, and there are U-shaped shelves.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, I have to fold all of these now. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's probably about 150 shirts and 150 hats, roughly.
Wow.
My goal was to have 3 different outfit options for every state, and I think I've only bought 4 myself.
Okay.
People send me things all the time.
Wow. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Laundry day must suck ass.
Well, the thing is, I don't wear the shirts often.
Oh, you just pop it
So-
on, do the bit, and then it's clean?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
And
smart.
you know, of the 150 shirts, I'm not wearing 150 of them every video. Like, I have my main, 5 or 6 guys that I do almost every video.
Yeah.
And I'll probably film like 2 or 3 sketches because I only wear the shirts for like a minute or 2.
Right.
So I'll probably film a few days worth of sketches, and then I'll wash it. And I only film like 1 sketch every week. So, I wash the 6 things once every 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
The general rule I have is if I can put something on and I can smell it, then I'm like,
It's fine.
that
They
it's
just-
gone too far. Usually, though, the costumes don't get that far. But when I moved to LA, a couple of them, I didn't realize there was some water, and so a couple of them smelled real bad when I took them out of those bags.
Yeah, you just got to do the smell check. That's that's
Little
the
sniff
classic.
test.
Yep. Yeah, we're
Sniff
good.
test.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold up the underwear to your nose and be like, "Are
Right-
these dirty?"
Right at
Rolling
where
with
the
that every-
asshole was.
Yeah, it's the
These
best
are-
spot to
these
smell.
Are, these are good.
If you can't smell that spot,
Yeah. Then they're clean. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you started making these videos during COVID, right?
yes,
And were you just bored? Was it just like
yes.
was it like I'm not touring, so what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I had gone. I decided to go full time stand up comedy in January of 2020.
Okay.
Uh,
Damn.
yeah, and in March, I was starting on a tour, and I was just featuring. I was maybe doing like a headline spot at like a bar or something. It wasn't like what it is now. I was featuring, and I was driving on my way to do shows in Atlanta. And I was going to do 2 shows in Atlanta, and then I was going to drive. I forget the full tour, but it was basically like all the way out into Kansas and then back down into Texas and across.
Okay.
It was like 2 or 3 weeks straight of just shows every day or every other day.
Right.
And I'm almost to Atlanta, and I get a call going, "Hey, we have to cancel the shows in Atlanta." And then I opened my emails, and I had canceled. So my next 2 to 3 weeks worth of shows were all canceled. So I stopped at a cookout parking lot just outside of Atlanta, and I ate my feelings. And then I drove back home to Orlando. Fuck. And at the time, I had no plan. And my friend told me to download TikTok, so I did that reluctantly. And my goal at the moment was to just make a sketch every single day for quarantine, thinking that it would be 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
it would be over. No
Yeah.
problem. Couple little sketches.
Exactly.
Little did we know.
If anybody listening right now has ever tried to make an original sketch every single day, at some point you're like, anything that I could think of is just gonna be made.
Right.
And that's what people ask me all the time, what was my inspiration? I didn't have one. It just happened. It fell out of I tipped the box over and shit just fell out.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things that rolled out. I found the bucket hat at my aunt's house. Nobody knows where it came from. And and it doesn't exist. There's no tag on it. There's no brand name. There's no nothing.
It was just placed
It
there.
was
weird.
there. She had never seen it before. She didn't
Divine
know where it came
intervention.
from.
That's where the hat came from.
Yeah. And also, that design doesn't exist on the internet.
You've done like the Google
Yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say. Reverse image search.
Yeah.
You can Google flamingo bucket hat, and you will search for hours, and you will find a ton of flamingo bucket hats. None of them are the design that I have. I sell them now on my website, but I had to hire an artist to recreate the design.
Wow.
And even still, the blue is off. Like, it's not the same color blue, but part of me is like, that's good. I want to keep the original, you know?
Yeah, you have the only real.
Yeah. It is. It's wild.
That could be a movie.
I don't know about that, but
I feel something magical. You could really pretend like somebody in your family's past time traveled. They brought you the hat, and they're like, "This is gonna fix it all." Do you know what I mean?
One day, later in my life, I'm gonna find that hat somewhere, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh no!"
It started all of this.
Because now I'm gonna see it. I'm like, I have to buy this because one day I'm going to find a time travel machine.
Yes.
That's. Oh no!
It's like back. It was you who put the hat there.
Time travel is weird. I don't get my future memories from past me.
This is true. This is true. This is true. How will we influence? I don't know, but
it'll happen.
It'll happen. It did happen. So we did it.
We're in a paradox now.
Yeah.
So was there a moment that you were like, holy shit, this thing is like really taking off?
That is a really tough question for me to answer because I don't even know that even now I have allowed myself the time to acknowledge or process any of this.
Right.
This is simply everything that I've done to this point is things I needed to do. And when I made the first video, it did, it went viral, it blew up.
The first one?
The first table video. And I mean, if I were to go back now and look at it, I'd be like, that was a good video. I wouldn't say that it blew up. But at the time, like my best video got 50,000 views within 5 days. And this one got 200,000 within 24 hours.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so I made another one. And then that one got even more views. And I was like, this is it now. And I just started churning them out.
Yeah.
And you're still just riding that wave.
Yeah, because it wasn't, at no point was I like, I should stop and acknowledge this. It was, what's next?
That's the attitude you got to have,
There's a healthy way to have the attitude for sure.
Yeah, definitely celebrate yourself because, dude, it's incredible what you've done. So.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's exhausting when you don't stop.
Right.
But also the other thing is, I said this last night, you don't get to see what the club looks like if you don't leave the club. Until you stop and look at it from outside, you will never know how good you've made your club look.
I
And
agree with that.
yeah, I need to, rest, but it was just like I made a sketch every single day for 30 days straight. And then I think I maybe took one day off, and then I did it again. 30 days of table sketch.
That's the ADHD, right? That's the ADHD brain. You can't stop.
It's not even the ADHD brain. It was a constant fear that if I stop right now, it's all going to end. It was
right.
It was
sink or swim.
Exactly. It was my survival brain.
I like that.
My therapist doesn't.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I'm like, I think I have enough now where I can leverage this in stand-up. And I was still living in Florida at the time, so things were starting to open back up after 10 days.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
We made the WWE essential on day 10. So yeah. There's a real thing you can Google.
Oh my God.
And so I started, reaching out to my friends, and I'm like, oh, all of a sudden now I get to headline a show. And I'm like, I don't know that I've ever done 45 to an hour at a nice venue. So let's see. And the first time I did it, I actually had a feature date booked from months ago. So I went, and my friend Carmen Vallone was headlining, and he was like, at the time he was telling me he developed a ton of anxiety because he more or less didn't really go outside during all that. It's not that he was taking it seriously, but what do you do? What else was there wasn't much else to do. And so he had developed some anxiety from that. And also from some other things that he realized at the time, he never took the time to also process that. And all of a sudden now he's forced to have this time. So he was processing that. And then he hadn't done stand up in a while because, shows and stuff were closed. So he was like, I'm having a lot of anxiety about this performance right now. Would you want to do more time? And we'll just kind of more or less co-headline. So I did 30 minutes as the feature, and he did 40 as the headliner. And when we got there, it was the first time I realized oh, people came to see me. I had never experienced that. Maybe a couple people here or there, but it was oh, there's 30 extra people here that saw. Okay.
Heck yeah.
And so I started booking more stuff at bigger clubs, and I started looking at moving out to Los Angeles. I started, an agent contacted me. I didn't even, that was my next step, was to find, an agent, but he reached out to me. He was like, hi, I'm so-and-so with whatever company. I just want to talk, and called him, and he was like, yeah, so-and-so put me on, show me your videos, and whatever it is, you've got it. And I want to work with you. And I looked at his website, and he's he was working with Gersh when COVID hit. Okay. And Gersh is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And he was one of the 200 or so employees they laid off during COVID. So he just kept his roster and started his own agency.
Cool.
And so I looked at his roster, and it was the entire Wayans family. And then Aries Spears and Benji Brown.
Wow.
And a couple, it was just famous black man, famous black family, and then me. And I was like, yeah, I would love to work with you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sign me up now.
I have not stopped working.
Good for you. That is awesome.
I need a break. It's great, but and that's the end of that sentence.
Yeah. And you deserve the acknowledgement for sure. Little you is so excited right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what
for
I mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give to somebody that's trying to maybe go viral now? Maybe they're just getting started with just don't even try.
I mean, the best healthy advice I could give you is do not. This is something that me and Zach have talked about quite a bit before. If you are the kind of person that can find happiness and joy doing a regular job, by all means, do a regular job. Yeah. I know this looks fun and glamorous and for the most part, sure, all of the stuff that gets filmed is fun and glamorous. Like, I love what I do, but at the same time, the amount of anxiety and depression that runs rampant through this, because there's no stability in it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like right now, if you were to look at like just analytics across the board on platforms as far as like reach and engagement, everything is at like all-time lows.
Yeah.
And when your job and your money is fully dependent on people seeing your stuff, now all of a sudden nobody's seeing your stuff and you have no control over it.
Yeah.
You can't like just tell the machine to show your stuff to more people.
Right.
Yes.
So
that's where
you
that
have
fear kicks in of I can't stop.
Can't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it becomes like, I am lucky in that I did a thing before that. Like, I have stand-up comedy. And stand-up comedy, it doesn't pay well until it does. And luckily, I've made it to it pays well, right? But I sell tickets because people see my videos and they see me saying, hey, I'm going to be here on this date at this time. So if now all of a sudden people aren't seeing my videos, they're also not seeing my tour dates. They're not buying tickets. So neither thing is going well. But because I have that second thing, I've started to figure out different ways to, one, keep people informed, and two, a different way that I am in control of. So email lists, text lists, Discord servers.
Yes. Yeah.
If I can get everybody to move to those, and I have a podcast now as well. I mean, it's brand new, but yeah, if I can get people to move from a location that is completely out of my control to a location that I can constantly control, then I'm able to say, hey, I have a new video out, everyone go check it out. Hey, I have tour dates coming up in this location, go check that out. And people are there because they signed up for that stuff to see me.
Yeah.
Right. And it gives you the feeling of like you have some semblance of control.
There's a little bit of stability there. Yeah.
Right. Where with social media, you're just at the whim of the fucking algorithm and you don't know what's going to happen.
Now, the real advice that I will give to people that are like me, their brain is a bit scratch and dent and they cannot do a regular life. If you want to start doing social media, I would say the best advice I could give you is find what content, figure out kind of generally what kind of content you want to make. Mm-hmm. Find people who already make content in that category and take notes of what they do that you like, and especially what they do that you do not like, and take that into account when you start making yours. The other best advice I can give is just do it.
Yeah.
Most people don't start, and that's where they end.
Or they give up pretty quickly because it takes a while.
It does, yeah.
You know,
have patience and just do it.
At least a year, they say. Put in a year of constant posting and whatever, and then if you want to quit, okay. But it takes a long time.
Yeah,
and I've heard that from several people.
Yeah.
It's like you just gotta not give up and keep plugging away.
Exactly. Little pieces of general advice, just like money-wise, you don't need much. If you have a phone and a natural light, like a window, it's gonna look beautiful. Right. So like the first thing that you should buy when you get to the point where like buying becomes a thing is maybe like just a little Rode microphone that you can plug into your phone.
Yeah. And,
just because that way, like, if you stand in front of a window with natural light, you're going to look good. So if you get a little microphone, you'll sound better. And it's a lot easier to sit and take in the content if it looks good, sounds good.
Yeah, just boost the production value a little bit,
Yeah.
And people notice that stuff. Like if your videos aren't in HD and the sound's bad, like.
Yeah. It's hard to sit
swipe
through stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah.
The other little thing that eventually you'll get to a point, lights are more important than cameras. If you have good lights, then you can make a bad camera look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is all about the lighting. We've learned that.
Are these GDFM?
I have no idea.
Or
They're lights.
Looks very similar to the lights that I have.
They're good lights.
Nice.
Yeah, the little LEDs, you can unscrew them. They're portable. Yep.
Yeah, and you can adjust the like the warmth.
The warmth.
Yeah,
and
it's
if you press a
huge.
button on the back, they can do colors.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I don't think
great.
this one has colors.
GVM, GFM, GVM. I don't know, something like that.
They work.
Yeah.
I love it.
It says GVM right at the bottom.
You're a genius.
There you go. Yep. Same lights I have.
Very nice.
I love it.
Great minds think alike.
Yes.
So you originally from Daytona.
Yes.
And you moved out to LA, right?
Orlando first.
Orlando. Okay.
Daytona, Orlando, LA. Yeah.
It's funny because I also lived in Orlando and I lived in LA.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't no Daytona, but same sort of pattern.
Yeah. Good job not doing Daytona.
So what would you say is the most like LA thing about you now?
I think it's gonna sound silly, but I think the most LA thing about me is the fact that I like LA.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like once you leave, well, first of all, nobody likes California.
Right.
Like that's fine. I think if you don't like California for really silly reasons, you're fine. But most people don't like California for complete lies. And I've spent a lot of time on tour at shows trying to tell people like, hey, everything you think of LA was true in the 80s.
Right.
There was some, not to get too specific, but there was like a weird, I don't even remember, but some, just event that happened in like 1995 or so that, right around there, LA was like, hey, we should fix everything.
Right.
And, 20 years later, there's no smog. It's 75 and sunny like every day.
It is. The weather's so good.
Yeah.
It never rains.
The whole state of California is rent controlled.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I just saw a post today that the LA City Council voted to allow landlords to raise rent next year by up to 6%. And all the comments were being mad. And I was like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen, but for the exact opposite reason.
It's amazing.
You're telling me people have to vote on whether or not landlords get to increase rent? And also, the rent cap in California is 10%. The LA City Council voted to keep it lower than like what they're legally allowed to in the rest of the state. And people are mad. And I'm like, y'all need to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Florida raised rates by 40% in like 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, we got screwed down here.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends lost their apartments, houses. It was like every person.
Yeah,
It was
everybody left.
Pretty much everyone. Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when the people in charge don't care about you.
Yeah. Truly.
Yeah.
We feel it.
I mean, I don't want to lie to people and say that LA is affordable by any means. It's a major city. It's going to be the price point of a major city.
Right.
But my buddy Ray is going on his third lease in 3 years, and he has never paid more than $1,000 a month in rent.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The first year he lived with me, so him and his girlfriend were, sharing one of the bedrooms in the house that I had. And I was, I do this. I'm like a halfway house for Florida comedians.
That's nice of you. That's very generous.
Yeah, what I do with Ray and his girlfriend, I was like, pay what you can every month. And then, of course, it started out $100 here and there. But then they were like, oh, now I'm integrated in the scene. I'm starting to make money. I have a job. And I think it was like $1,100 total for both of them, And then they moved into a studio by themselves. And I think they were paying like $750.
You can't find that here. It's impossible.
No, like not one.
Yeah, and they were across the street from the studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Studio City.
No, different place actually.
That's where I was.
I'm not far. I don't want to say where I'm at specifically because some people use that.
Yeah.
Don't give away too much info.
I live in North Hollywood.
Yeah. NoHo.
Yep. NoHo.
NoHo.
Nice. I'm pretty close to the Burbank NoHo line.
Okay.
Cool. And then Ray just moved in. Him and his girlfriend just moved to a different apartment with a buddy that we made out there. And it's, a really nice spot. It's a 3-bedroom apartment with a pretty big communal living area. And now they're paying even less. I think like $650 a piece.
I can't.
Yeah. And
so for all the people that were pissed off at California, it's not as bad as you think it is.
And they're 15 minutes from the Walk of Fame.
And like
not that anyone should ever go.
Like,
but yeah. The housing prices are high, but like if you want to rent, you can find it.
Okay.
I will say,
to know.
Trying to find a place to rent is the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
especially when you have entertainment checks, because you don't really get pay stubs.
Exactly.
You just have to show 6 months of printed out bank account information. My landlord is actually really nice. He's a structural engineer, so he kind of just does landlording on the side.
Okay, yeah.
And when I told him that I went to school for engineering, he was like, "Oh, here are the keys." Like at that point, he was like, "Oh, I trust you." Like
he'll figure it out.
I mean, showing up, I was just like a kid that did comedy. He was like, "Ugh, I don't know. There's not much stability." I was like, "Oh, I have engineering as my backup plan." And he was like, "Yeah, you're fine. Here."
Friends.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I've heard you've had many jobs. Is there one that sticks out as the worst?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. I have had a lot. I think the most obvious worst one was the military. But that feels too obvious.
Right.
I worked as a child care counselor at the YMCA.
Ooh, that'll do it.
Children are rough. Especially when they're not yours.
She knows.
Well, the other thing, did you ever work YMCA?
No, but like many different places with kids with special needs. I've done music camps. I've done a million things. Yeah.
I've done none of it. She's a good person.
Yeah. No, the thing with the YMCA summer camp, we say summer camp. It wasn't a summer camp. It was basically just daycare of the summer, kind of. Every year, they lose all of their counselors by the end of the summer. They all quit. So like as the summer goes on, it gets tougher and tougher for you because everyone else is quitting. My boss quit.
Exactly.
Damn.
That is so bad.
And then I just started doing it.
Your boss is like, I'm out.
Like, and they were like, we can't officially give you like the title because you have to like take classes and stuff to like have this title. So technically, like just the manager of that whole YMCA was also just doing technically, quote unquote, the manager job of the childcare section.
Yeah.
But he fully just like, you're doing this well, so we're just gonna pay you more.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. This job sucks. I'm not coming back, but I'll stay because like they were paying me well. They were paying me nicely, especially for like where I was at in my life at the time. Like I was a college kid,
right?
You know?
Right.
So it was going well, but it was rough. I worked at the Walgreens Photo Center for a little bit.
Oh, that's
only a month.
We were just talking about the old little windy cameras last episode.
Disposables.
Yeah, the disposables, man.
I worked there for only a month. And the reason I quit that job is because they treated me like a manager without paying me like one.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I was in charge of making sure that like the other employees got their 15 and got their lunch break. And then I would also have to like cover for them while they were on their 15 and their lunch break. And then I had to stock a third of the store. Like, if you're the photo department guy, you have to work the photo department. You have to stock a third of the store. You have to work the front desk. You have to work the beauty department. You have to work every department.
Five different jobs.
You have to work every department, and you're also in charge of making sure that everyone else gets their breaks on time.
And people in Walgreens are generally not very happy.
No, and I got to be honest, I always thought of that job being so stress-inducing with anxiety because I was like, what if you're sending these passport photos to the federal government and they're all wrong?
Oh, that part's easy. That was like,
my biggest fear.
That's the easiest part of the job.
Yeah, because one, I don't send any of the pictures to the government.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
I take it and I give it to you. But that part of the job was so streamlined. They were like, stand on the X, take out you'd have a checklist, take off your earrings, take off your necklace, push your hair behind your ears, like the whole thing. Click, boom, it'll be out in 5 minutes. And I just had to cut it, and put it in the thing and give it to them. The one thing that made me quit was I spent probably 30 to 45 minutes helping an elderly woman make a calendar for her kindergarten best friend for her like 85th birthday. And she was the sweetest, nicest old lady. And she was so happy to have me helping her the whole time. After she left, my manager came out and was like, hey, you cannot neglect customers. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you can't, like, you have to. I was like, nobody else was in line. Nobody else was here. If somebody else needed something
for a sweet old lady,
this woman is going to come back to Walgreens for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer that is.
Yeah, you just got the most loyal customer. You hooked her right in.
Exactly. And this manager had the audacity to not even mention, hey, that was great. But it was, you can't do that. And I was like, okay, I won't then. Got it. You got it, bud. I won't care about.
Nice. Is that your last day there?
I don't think it was my last day. I put in my 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
But I did start taking much longer lunch breaks.
Yeah.
I lived 5 minutes from the store, so I would just go home.
Absolutely.
Home for lunch is the best.
Absolutely.
And pooping on their time.
We're running out of time a little bit, but I wanted to get to a segment that we do on the show called That's My Shit. And what we do, I'm just going to like rapid fire some topics.
Okay.
And you tell me what is, your favorite or your shit. So
got it.
Movies. What's your shit? Like genre-wise.
Genre-wise.
Yeah.
I love comedies, but the same thing for TV shows. I love dramedies. I love comedy where the comedy isn't forced. It is funny because life is funny.
Nice. What about music?
I'm into a lot of stuff, but I'd say probably funk and ska and alt, things that sound less produced. Like if they just played it for you live in your living room, it would sound the same. I'm into that.
Cool.
Nice. You like the horns with the ska?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's happiness with the brass section. That's all that it is.
Yeah, it is. That's just happy music. What about food? What's your shit with food?
Ooh, I will try anything once. But if it's fried, I'll try it more than once.
Mm-hmm. With you there. We love fried shit. What's your favorite state to visit and tour in?
I don't know if I have one necessarily. I have a terrible memory, and I've been to most of them, all except for Hawaii. I've been to every state except for Hawaii. But I have a terrible memory. It's one of those things where I try to explain this to people. The states are not the states. They are pockets of individual cultures dependent on the city. So, like, New York City and Buffalo are two different things in the same state, you know? Right. I love visiting the Northeast because of walkability. But, like, I love the West Coast because everyone's happy.
Okay, yeah.
In between, I will find the good thing. Like, if I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, I'm eating steak. Mm-hmm. There's not much else in Omaha unless it's, like, college baseball World Series. But damn, the steaks are good.
They got some good beef.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about hobbies? What's your shit? I mean, we talked about
disc golfing.
Disc golf.
Yep. So disc golf, I can't say comedy anymore because that's my job. It's disc golf. I love board games, and I got really into D&D a couple years ago, and so now I'm literally writing books for it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm most of the way done with a source book that introduces a new subclass for every single class in the game that focuses on using hit dice to power abilities.
I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds pretty awesome.
You seem to either be very intrigued or not, or
I'm very
understand.
Intrigued, and I slightly understand.
Yes,
so
she understands more than I would.
I was a music major in college, so lots of friends around me were always playing and having D&D nights. So
the way that I would try to describe it to people who have never played, if you ever wanted to try, think of it like it's imagination the game. Yeah. If you can think about doing it, you could just more or less do it as long as the guy running the game is cool about it. He's like, roll this. The learning curve is steep but narrow. There's a lot of numbers thrown at you all at once, but they all make sense. There will be a point in time where it clicks and everything will just make sense to you, and you'll go, oh, this wasn't difficult.
Yeah.
There's a website you can use called dndbeyond.com, and it's very user-friendly in that, like, if it's your first time ever doing it, there's some buttons you can click, and they will give you notes and guides on what things mean and how to do it.
This is what I need, dude.
Yes.
If
I'm ever running a game for people who have never played before, I will not let them do any spellcasters because there's 1,000 spells, and they're all convoluted. So if we're playing for the first time, I'm going to tell you to be like a barbarian. Your thing is get angry, hit harder. Right. There's not much else for you to need. You don't need to learn more. Roll to hit, roll your damage. Roll to hit, roll your damage. And then once you like figure out those things, maybe you can move on to like what we call a half caster. It's a guy who can fight with a sword but also has some spells. So that'd be like a ring. Do you know Lord of the Rings?
Big fan.
So D&D is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. So the first D&D was so Lord of the Rings that one of the races was literally Hobbit. And J.R.R. Tolkien's house had to reach out and be like, you can't do that. So now it's a halfling is what it is.
Okay, cool.
But it literally is just Lord of the Rings, but with dice.
Okay.
So Aragorn, or Strider.
Yeah.
Strider! Yeah. He's a class called a ranger. So he uses bows, arrows, swords. He's really good with plants and nature and stuff. But
you sold me.
But he has.
I'm gonna go play disc golf, and I'm gonna get into D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Be a salesman.
If you go on my Discord, I have a D&D like channel, and there are people like, oh, are you looking for a game? You can hop in a thing.
I love it.
You're gonna see me on there.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Turd Talks pop up there.
Yes.
So another thing, do you enjoy farting on stage?
I don't think I often fart on stage.
Really?
I burp a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. If I eat too much before right before a show, I will just start burping on stage. Doesn't matter what I do it's just I will always burp on stage. I don't think I fart on stage.
Interesting.
At least I don't remember.
I mean, good for you. I don't know how you manage that, but I'm impressed.
It's not a choice, I don't think.
Yeah, it just comes up the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I scream so much. There's just a lot of clenching down here.
Right.
And so it can't go down. It has to come back up.
Right,
yeah.
Right. That makes sense. So do you have any poop stories or like close encounters that you'd like to share?
So, as you know, I have potentially one of the most insane poop stories.
Yes.
That I have recently started doing on stage. But yeah, I can kind of give the rundown. So this was about 6 years ago. I was in the Army Reserves, and they sent me and 8 guys from my unit out to Fort Irwin, California, in the Mojave Desert to support a bigger unit in like their field training exercise that lasts about a month. And a big part of it is like you spend 2, almost 3 weeks out in the Mojave Desert, and it's combat-like. The only real thing that separates it from like actually feeling like real combat and not combat is the fact that they have porta potties out there because they don't want you just to shit in the desert.
Right, dig a hole and shit in the sand.
Right, which we didn't do.
It's like Everest out there.
Tried not to.
Exactly. Yeah. But it is also like they try to make it as combat experience like as possible. So there are opposition forces. They'll run onto your base and attack you with blanks and stuff. And you just have to treat it like a live fire scenario type of thing.
And you don't know when that's coming.
Never know.
Okay.
You never know. And so one day the sun starts to set and I go to the porta potty because it just started to cool off a bit. And I take it real serious. Like I take everything off because it's the only privacy I have. No helmet, plate vest is off, coat's off, everything's off. And I pull up my phone. I'm on Facebook, half a bar, just scrolling through. I mostly just listen to music and just mindlessly scrolling or whatever.
Yeah.
And I hear our base get attacked. Like there's blanks being fired at the gate. And my first thought was like, oh no, we're under attack. So I grabbed my rifle, and my second thought was, they don't know I'm in here. So I didn't do anything. I just put the rifle down and I kept shitting. I'm sure at
just
this
trying to stay
point,
quiet, like don't find me.
At this point, I'm sure I was done shitting, but I was not done sitting there.
Yeah.
Doing
a tinker stinker.
Exactly. Yeah. And like 5 minutes later, the blanks were getting closer and closer and closer. And I realized eventually this guy is like right outside of my porta potty. And I have the thought of, I could end this all right now.
Yeah.
And so I grab my rifle and I go to start to kick the door open. And I think, wait, he doesn't know I'm in here. And so I put it down and I just keep sitting there. Right. I was like, nope, he doesn't know. I'm sitting there. And a few minutes later, he runs away and I just hear like a very small but persistent, like, as if, I don't know, a gas leak perhaps. And for a moment, I was like, I hope that's not what I know that it is. But of course, I got my first whiff, and it was CS gas. He had left a CS gas grenade by the porta potties.
Just like next to it, or do you put it under there? Or?
I don't know where but it was close enough that I started crying and
oh my
and my nose was running. Everything stinks. CS gas stings your exposed skin. Like if you go in, like the first time I felt it, like the back of my neck was stinging.
Damn.
And I was naked. So all of my exposed skin was stinging.
In a tiny enclosed box.
In an enclosed box,
Jeez.
yeah. And I looked over and I realized that I left my gas mask on the truck that I was staying in.
Fuck.
So I just got so mad. And, 5 minutes later, it's wearing out, it disperses. So I blow my nose and stuff. I get up and I'm just angrily trudging back through the desert to where my unit was at. And everyone's lying down in like defensive positions, and someone yells at me like, "Get down!" And I'm like, the only person I'm getting down with is that motherfucker. Like, where is he? And they're like, "We don't know where he's at." I'm like, "You tell me. Yeah. You want to kill him? I want him to feel it. We are on a different mission right now." And then one guy goes, "Where's your gas mask?" And I was like, "Oh, where's my gas mask?" That's look at me. Do you think I haven't asked myself that question already? I look miserable. And I told the guy that was yelling at me, I was like, I just got gassed while I was shitting in a porta potty. You think I don't fucking want to know where my gas mask is right now? And he was like, you got gassed while shitting in a porta potty? Are you sure you didn't just gas yourself?
Bro,
which,
Jesus Christ.
Pretty fucking
objectively, funny joke.
Yes.
In that moment, I could not have been more angry.
Yeah.
And I eventually get back to where my unit was staying. We were in like a big tent that we'd set up kind of just in the corner away from, as much as we could. And I walk in there and all of the 8 people I came with were all just laying down in there. And I was like, what the fuck are you guys, what's going on? And they were like, we're resting. I'm like, we're under attack. And they were like, no, nah, they're under attack. Yeah. And I was like, God damn it. Like,
oh my God.
Those are also, they were like, they don't know we're in here. It's like, you motherfuckers.
Son of a bitch.
And they're like, where were you at? I was like, where was I? I was shitting in a porta potty and I got gassed. That's where I was. And to this day, there are 5 or 6 guys that I still talk to that fully believe, are you sure you didn't just gas yourself?
Oh my God, dude.
Objectively, funny joke. But in that moment, I was like, I can't even, like, I'm too mad to even appreciate the pun that is the fact you guys are fucking gaslighting me about this.
That's a great shit story. I gotta say, like, that's a legendary shitting story.
I mean, there are more details. Obviously, you guys came to the show last night, so there's like 40 minutes of details that I put on stage. But like for the listeners, I need you to know I was shitting in a porta potty in the desert in the summer. Like it was August. And that's when I got gassed.
Worst possible scenario for shitting in the military.
Yeah. God is real and he has a sense of humor.
Yeah, exactly. They're just
and it's a really fucking mean one.
Yeah. God's laughing his ass off at all of us right now. Well, to close out today's episode, I heard that you're somewhat of a big karaoke fan. Is this true?
I don't know if karaoke fan is necessarily the word.
Okay.
But I have very strong opinions about it.
Okay. So I've heard that you went on record saying that Since You've Been Gone is the #1 karaoke song to sing, hands down.
Oh, 100%.
So to close things out today, would you do us the honor of singing with us Since You've Been Gone?
Do you guys have water?
Yes.
I need to drink water.
Absolutely.
First.
I can get you a water.
100%.
I'm also going to need to move the microphone away from my mouth because I will be yelling.
Yes. I'm so excited.
We'll see if I can get through this without hurting my throat. Thank you so much. Ooh, liquid death, huh?
Yeah. Watch out.
Cool guy. Can you tell I drink a lot of sodas? I struggle to pop the top. Oh, it didn't even pop.
Oh, no. How does that even happen?
I don't know.
Faulty.
Do you need another one?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Get him another one.
Liquid death?
Wait. Let me just...
I'm calling Wiz Khalifa right now.
I've never had that happen. I at this point maybe I don't know. I don't think I did it wrong, but
I don't think you did either. I think something was fucked up with that can.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Okay, man, have you ever made? You ever had something just make you question everything about yourself?
Yes,
oh, absolutely.
Yes, like every day, twice a day at least.
I exist?
Yeah.
All right, so let me cue this up here. Okay. Oh yeah, I've got the lyrics here. If you are needing them.
Oh, are we doing the full song?
No.
No, just
just the chorus.
Just yeah.
Oh,
we'll get to the chorus and
okay.
and we'll
Let me see where we're. So we're starting from the beginning and just going to the first.
I don't know this song well, so I apologize if I.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Oh man,
this guy.
Kelly Clarkson
such
is
a
wonderful.
loser.
Thank you.
She is.
She's my
amazing.
all-time hero. Thank you.
Here's the thing. Start out friends. It was cool, but it was all the same.
Yeah, I was like really in. I was like, what's happening?
Tell me about Kelly. Tell me more.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's rock.
This is a very silly segment, and I like it.
Here's the thing.
We started out as friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend. Yeah. Since you've been gone, dedicated, you took the time. Wasn't long till I called you mine. Yeah. Since you've been gone, all I ever hear me say is how I pictured me with you. So I'll never hear me say, since you've been gone, I can't breathe for the first time. So moving on, yeah. To you,
Now I care. What I want since you've been gone. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Ben Brainard, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that karaoke is way harder when you can't see the beats.